Espo in the his house.
Hey everyone, it's me, Sally B, and here's a video I made of all the books that I read in the year 2021. Hope you all enjoy. It is January 2021, and the first book that I finished this year is this book called The Incen Diaries. I started reading it and then I put it down, and it took me a while to get into it. There are three main characters, but it's only in the perspective of one character, and I feel like the character that the author chose to have the book be in first person, I feel like he was like the boringest character out of the three. I think it would have been more interesting to have the book in the point of view of Phoebe, who was the most interesting character. I would have liked to hear more about her story and what that was like, but I get that it had a little bit of mystery towards the end involving her character, so I can see why she chose to have it in Will's perspective, but I didn't really care for his character. And also, as a sucker for romance, I felt like the relationship between Will and Phoebe, it didn't really do it for me, and so I kind of felt like about their relationship. Hey everyone, it is February 20th and I finished reading this book called The Light We Lost by Jill Santopolo. I heard that it was a book about an intense first love, and as I said before, I'm a sucker for romance, so I was like, heck yeah, I'm gonna read this book. It's about a guy and a girl falling in love during their years in college in New York City, and the guy has a photographer, and one of them chooses their career over the romance, and that's how that falls apart. When I heard what it was about, I felt like, you know what, I think I read this book before. I was thinking of this other book called Before We Were Strangers, which I had read a few years ago, and it pretty much has the same premise like what I just said. Similarities, New York, college, first love, photographer. I feel like, okay, like this isn't really the most original story, but I still gave it a shot. This book is about a couple, Gabe and Lucy. I don't think I really liked neither one of them. You know, Gabe was very selfish. Lucy just came off as very obsessed over this guy. It just kind of made you not really like Lucy. Like, get over this guy, come on. It's both of their decisions. It just really made you question whether these characters were even likable. The good thing I will say about this book was that it was entertaining. You know, I felt like once I started reading it, I wanted to keep going, and even though I was kind of annoyed by these characters, I felt like I still wanted to know what was going to happen. And also, I did feel like it was very predictable. I predicted everything that happened with this couple. I was like, okay, I already knew this, and when it happened, it was just like, yep, saw that coming. I wasn't really shocked. It's April 17th. I recently finished this book called Pet by Akwaeke Emezi. It is a young adult fantasy book about a young trans girl named Jam who comes face to face with a creature named Pet, who, the way it's described in the book, looks like a monster. Kind of scary. But Pet is actually not a monster. He was brought into Jam's world to hunt a monster. And so Jam embarks on this journey with Pet to figure out who is this monster. And I think the book brings up a very interesting topic and discussion about, you know, what exactly makes someone a monster. You know, there's also the issue of abuse that comes up in this book. For some of the readers out there, especially of young adult books, you know, they can relate to that if they've ever gone through something similar where, you know, they're afraid to speak up because people might not believe them. There's another part close to the end of the book, which I'm not going to spoil, that I felt like was pretty dark too, where I was like, wow, you know, the author went there. One small thing that I did like about the book was the interesting names. I felt like they were fun. You know, there's obviously Jam, her friend Redemption. There's other characters like Hibiscus, Glass, Bitter, Moss. It's mid-June and I put on some purple eyeshadow today. I don't know, it looks kind of red, but I don't know if this makes me look sickly or not, but if I do, it kind of ties into the theme of today's book, which is Wilder Girls. What drew me to this book was the lovely cover and the interesting title, Wilder Girls. Why are these girls wild? What's going on? This book is about a group of girls who are stuck on an island. They get infected with this kind of virus. These girls kind of get these animalistic qualities and it's pretty bad. So hopefully we never get anything like that. That's all we need, right? That's all we need to get is the tox. And so they have to quarantine at their school, which is on the island. And it's kind of like a survival of the fittest type book. I've heard people compare it to Lord of the Flies, which I did read in high school, but I honestly did not even remember that book that well. I did like the characters. I feel like they could have been developed a little bit more. For example, one of the characters, Wyatt, it's mentioned how she kind of had, or it's hinted that she had like a wild past, and we kind of don't really, I feel like we weren't really given enough of a backstory. Like, I wanted to know what the heck she was doing that makes her so crazy and wild, or whatever they described her as in the book. I did like this book. It's quite slow paced and a lot of the action doesn't happen till towards the end of the book, and it's quite a thick book too. I mean, it's not that thick, but it is pretty gory. There's some graphic descriptions in here, whereas one of them kind of did make me feel a little bit queasy. One thing I will say that did let me down from this book was the ending. I don't mind open endings, but I feel like this one was a little too open for me. I felt like, you know, come on girl, give us something more. So it is early August and I recently finished this book called Searching for Sylvie Lee by Jean Kwok. It's about a girl, Sylvie Lee, who goes missing when she visits her sick grandma in the Netherlands, and she never returns back home to her sister and her parents in New York. This book dealt a lot with having secrets, family secrets being revealed, and how it can really take a toll on everybody, not just the person who's keeping secrets. You know, Sylvie Lee's character hid a lot of stuff from her family, and sometimes you feel so frustrated, like, oh my gosh, why couldn't these people just tell the truth? Being a younger sister like the character Amy, I could understand. Like, I can't imagine what it would be like to not know where the heck my sister is. Well, actually, I do know what that is like. I can relate to Amy, like not knowing where your sister is and having that fear of, is she okay, or what's going on, and the lengths that you would go to try to find your family member. The main romance in this book, I don't want to give any spoilers, but it was like, what the heck is going on here? The big reveal or twist at the end, I did see it coming. I was like, I bet you anything this is what it is, and sure enough, it was what I figured. I did enjoy this book. I recommend it. It is September 22nd, and I recently finished this book, The Dreamers by Karen Thompson Walker. I actually thought this was a really cute cover. So let me tell you, I don't know, I feel like this book, it wasn't really for me. I feel it's gonna be one of those books that I will probably not remember years from now. I finished this book like 2 weeks ago, but I've just been lagging on a review. But it's about a town in Northern California that gets this virus and causes people to fall asleep and they don't wake up. And here's another book where I happen to read that is about a sickness and people having to quarantine, hitting a little too close to home in these times right now. I felt like it was just really hard to connect with any of these characters because there was just so many of them and we didn't really get to know a lot of them in depth. I don't think there was even any characters that I really cared about. I kind of liked the character May. I was hoping we would see more of a romance, you know, the sucker for romance that I am. I was hoping we were going to see more of a romantic aspect, but of course I didn't get it. And the only other couple in the book, it's a married couple with a baby. They were, that couple was kind of annoying. I was like, this couple needs to go. When are they going to go to bed? Like, come on, put these people to sleep. Oh, I mean, not to sleep, but, you know, the sickness sleep. And besides that, I feel like there was a lot of loose ends to this story. Like there were so many things that I had questions about, like why did this town get this virus? Or why people were having certain dreams. They also talk a lot about the lake in the story, and I felt like, what's up with this lake? There was really no importance of the lake, or at least I didn't remember any. I mean, I didn't hate the book. I did enjoy reading it. It was a fast read. The way it was written, it really kind of just flows along. So I didn't have any issue with the writing style. I just feel like, yeah, way too many characters, too many loose ends, and yeah. So it is currently October, and I wore these little buns in honor of this next book. So I wanted to venture into the world of manga. I decided I wanted to read a horror one. So I Googled it up, and the top person that came up was Junji Ito. I'm actually interested in reading some of his other works, but I went ahead and chose this one called Uzumaki. I love horror movies. I don't really read too many horror books because I think when it comes to scary stuff, I'm more of a visual person. And so that's why I was interested in checking out a horror manga. And this one, it didn't disappoint. I took off my glasses because that blue ring was just, it was getting on my nerves. Okay, never mind. They're going back on. I just realized how uneven my eyeliner is. Wow, makeup is not my specialty. Anyway, back to Uzumaki. Uzumaki is about a town that is cursed with spirals. And when I read the premise of this, I was so intrigued. I thought, how can spirals be scary? Or what does that even mean, cursed by spirals? And spirals, after reading this, scary. Like I started noticing, I started being more aware of spirals around me, that pattern, and creepy. It's very creepy. My favorite chapter was definitely chapter 10, mosquitoes. I think that one, like, come on, this creepy, right? That is creepy. Yeah. My least favorite chapters was the ones about the storm. I was kind of like, didn't really care about it. The art in here is just so great. If I knew how to do makeup, I would love to do this. This image, that I think that's like this image is like popular one from this series. There's a lot of creepy stuff in here, especially with snails. I won't say any spoilers about that, but what happens with the snails, it really makes you wonder about humanity, like if the things people will do. Yeah, in chapter 8, snails, this is not a spoiler, but like, how can people go back to school the next day? Like if that happened to one of my peers, I would not want to go back to school. Are you kidding me? I would probably check myself into the asylum, because I don't think I would be the same after witnessing something like that happening. It definitely set the tone for October. Spooky season. I might even be a big old spiral for Halloween. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know how I would do that. I definitely recommend it if you're into horror, body horror, gross horror, I guess. I enjoyed this. I recently finished this book called Fudge Bites by CoCo. It is a candy-coated mystery. I read this during Halloween time, and I was really captivated by this very fall-esque cover. I didn't realize that this book was part of a series, and I think this is book number 7, I believe, in the series. I never read any of the previous books, but I mean, it is good as a standalone book. I really liked the setting of the book. It was a small community that also really helped make it feel more like a cozy book, since everybody on the island pretty much knew everybody. I don't know if I would want to live in that kind of environment where everybody knows my business. I would recommend this. I'm interested in checking out some of the other books in this series. I know there's a Christmas one, and I think there's even a 4th of July book. So yeah, I definitely would be interested in checking out some of these other books and getting to know these characters a little bit more.